Strike the Zither by Joan He is a YA retelling of the Chinese classic The Three Kingdoms. And this is a relatively short book at 320 pages. It is the first book in at least a duology. The second book is going to be called Sound the Gong. And I was kind of okay with it. I mean, it's kind of a typical YA, and to be quite honest, the main character, Zephyr, really got on my nerves at the beginning. She was very arrogant and felt, like she was above others and everything, and there was no filtering of that. She was at least very aware of this, and she did, mention it, so that helped a little bit. Then about halfway through the book, you find out she's actually a god, and at that point, I put it down for a couple days, because, kind of like every YA, they have to be the chosen one, the special one, and I was just kind of like, okay, not that into it. Overall, though, I did wind up enjoying it. I did wind up seeing Zephyr's loyalty to her warlordess. I did enjoy seeing the way that she was willing to do so much for Ren, the warlordess. And I think it will be very interesting to see what happens in future books, especially with the body jumping that has happened. And I definitely would like to see her meet up with Crow again. I felt like they had really good banter and they are just on the same level. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't horrible, but it was kind of a standard YA. If you do enjoy YA, I think you would like it. There's some unique parts in the details. It's just the broad strokes are very similar. And I did enjoy that this was based off of a Chinese classic. I did think that was unique. And I did like, there were some notes about Three Kingdoms in there, so you kind of see what the differences were. And yeah, so overall, it was decent, but not a must-read. Those Who Walk Away from Amelais is a short story by Ursula K. Le Guin. It's only about 3 pages, and it was written back in the 1970s, and it kind of goes along with the utopian theme with kind of a twist. And this is a really short story, and if you're a fan of Ursula K. Le Guin, I can recommend it. If you're a fan of books like 1984 or Brave New World, I can recommend it for that as well. It kind of has those same vibes, except it has a little bit more of the utopian and a little bit less of the dystopian. But yeah, like I said, it's very short, and it won't take you more than about 5 minutes to read, so it's definitely worth a look. So my first classic book for this year is The Phantom of the Opera. And it's a relatively short book, just over 300 pages, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I felt like the descriptions of the opera house, when they went down into the 5 levels of the sub-basements, and then they were climbing up into the eaves, and, all the trapdoors, and the counterweights, the ropes, the pulleys, seeing the furnace stokers, the gasmen. It was very atmospheric. It was very operatic, which was definitely, appropriate, being that it was set in the opera. I did feel like the characters were not super fleshed out. They were kind of flat, but the impetus of the story, the plot moved along quite fast once you get through the first two introductory chapters, and they're again very quick reads and kind of set the tone as well that this is the players, the extra players, basically, all the ballerinas and so forth. And I did feel like Christine Day, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, she was a very strong character for the time. She did have some moments where she was extremely naive, and that did kind of irk me a little bit. But, knowing that this was published in the early 1900s, I did feel like, she had a good bit of backbone in there. So if you like the kind of dramatic stories, very atmospheric, gothic stories, I think you would really like this one. I finished listening to the audiobook of Educated by Tara Westover, and this is a memoir about a young girl who grew up as a basically fundamentalist, survivalist, hardcore Mormon, and she was homeschooled up until high school, and actually until the last year of high school, and then she decided to just go straight to college, and this kind of follows her through all of that, and the dissonance of going to college and going even to like Harvard and Cambridge and all these really high level schools, and then going home to work in a scrapyard for her dad. And I like the way you get to see the good sides of her mom, her dad, and her older brother Sean, and then you also get to see the moments where her dad and Sean both just come unhinged, and you see the moments when her mom says, oh yeah, I'll side with you against them, or be on, not really against them, but, be on your side, like when Sean threatens to hurt her. Her mom says, yes, I'll be on your side. And then when it comes down to it, oh no, Sean was just kidding. He didn't mean it. He'd never really hurt you. And there's some pretty dark stuff in there. And, you see a lot of gaslighting. And Tara does recognize this in a way at first. When she is young, her and Sean are basically best friends. And then he meets a girl and starts dating her. And she recounts how this girl would come over to their house and hang out. And Sean would say, I want a cup of water. She'd bring him the cup of water. Where's my apple juice? I wanted apple juice. Then she'll get him apple juice. No, I wanted water. Bring him back the water. I want ice. No, I didn't want ice. Now I want a Coke. And she has to drive all the way to town and get a Coke. And and she's very aware of this, because Sean does the same thing to her at one point, and she dumps the water on him, but then he physically attacks her, and at that point she just kind of gives in and thinks this is her life. But obviously she does make her way out, as do two of her older siblings, and her mom, her dad, and three of her other siblings will not have anything to do with her. They deny everything she said, and she recounts how I still hear about them, secondhand, all their petty little infighting and stuff. And she seems to be able to really just pull back and see this from an outsider's point of view and not really judge them. She just states all this as facts. Now, one thing that does bother me a little bit is I feel like she keeps herself a little distant from all this stuff, but as you read the book, you kind of see this is what she's done. So I feel like that is authentic to her. So I decided to start my children's book nostalgia read early this year, and I read a bunch of Jory John books. He wrote The Bad Seed and all the books in that series, as well as several others. So I read Seed. The Bad Seed presents The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which were both pretty cute. And I did like how the Bad Seed learns the errors of his ways and kind of becomes a lot nicer. And then The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, I thought was a cute little Halloween theme to read. Then we have The Cool Bean, and The Cool Bean presents As Cool as It Gets. The Cool Bean is about fitting in at school, and again, I thought it was well done. It was pretty cute. It had a good message about what's really cool is helping others. And then As Cool as It Gets is a cute little Christmas story. They all get together, and the Cool Bean is afraid that his gift isn't good enough, but he soon finds out that it is. All that matters is that you try. Then there was The Good Egg. Then there was The Good Egg, and The Good Egg presents The Great Eggscape. And these again were both cute. I did not like The Good Egg as much, just because it is, he stresses about the rules, and then they're like, oh, don't worry about the rules, which I disagree with in certain circumstances, most circumstances. Then The Great Escape, I did like. That was a cute little game of hide and seek. Then there was The Couch Potato, and again, it had it had a message. That message was get out and enjoy life. Don't just be stuck around your screens. And I think that was one that you can definitely tell it was written now, because it's very up with the times. Technology, with the technology part. Then there was The Sour Grape, and The Sour Grape was one about a grape who gets sour because of some things that have happened to him, and that's basically a story of letting go and how sometimes what you're sour about can just be a misunderstanding. All of those were kind of, I'd say, mid-level picture books, probably once the children are in elementary school. And then there was one more, which is a level 1 I can read, and that one is about the Good Egg and the talent show. That one I would say would be maybe mid-level elementary, maybe like first or second grade. And then I read Go to Sleep Already, and that is the only one I could find of Bear and Duck, and that one was probably one of my two favorites out of this set. I completely felt Bear's pain of all he wants to do is sleep, and Duck can't sleep. So what does Duck do? Hey Bear, can I borrow this? Hey Bear, want to play a game? Hey Bear, hey Bear. And at the end, Duck, I'm so tired. Bear, I have never been more awake. And that ending, I just completely felt it. I have trouble sleeping myself and have a tendency to get woken up. So I did definitely feel that. And I think it's one that a lot of parents who have young kids could definitely see themselves as Bear and the kids as Duck. And this is one I would say is maybe like a slightly younger again, kindergarten or even earlier. Then the two that were even maybe pre-kindergarten. One of them was my other favorites, and that was I Will Chomp You. And that one was just pure fun. And the little monster is just so energetic and chomp, chomp, chomp. You just great sound effects throughout it, very brightly colored. And again, I said that one was even simpler. Yeah, I would say even pre-elementary school would like that one. Then there is Stop Calling Me a Monster, and that one is about a monster who wants you to know he has a name. And that one obviously has a pretty good message of people are more than just their looks. And I found that one pretty fun. I wouldn't say it was one of my favorites, but it was fun. I did enjoy it. And then the final one was The Smart Cookie, and that one is about how everybody has their own talent. And again, that was a cute. Overall, I did enjoy all of those children books. I read them all in not even an hour. It's just something that's kind of relaxing, and they do make me laugh. And the illustrations in them all were actually pretty good for a children's book. They are obviously on the simpler side, but the coloring is very nice, and there's just enough detail. And I did like in the food group series, I don't know why I like this so much, but they were all drawn, as you saw on the covers, with just extremely large foreheads, I guess. I don't know what you should really call them on, food. But the large foreheads just did kind of make me laugh. So those were the children's books for this month. And then I have a couple books that will be in their own separate video later on, but I'll just touch on them briefly here. I read the first 15 volumes of the Komi Can't Communicate manga, and that video, of course, is already up. But this was just a fun high school romantic comedy about a very socially anxious girl and her new best friend. And I just really love all the interactions and how Komi comes into her own. Then I listened to Born with Teeth, which is Kate Mulgrew's first memoir. Then she also has another memoir that I'm currently listening to, and I'll do a video on those two together. And then then I read My Lady Jane, and that, of course, is the first book in the Lady Janie's trilogy. And as I said in my series book haul, that has inspired a whole lot of more series that I have also at this point started. And that was another one that I enjoyed. It was a fun read. It was a little bit of a longer book, but I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the humor. And so that's everything I read this month, and I will see you all in the next video.